More women than ever are doing everything right for their health and feeling worse than ever.
Welcome to the True Wellness Podcast with Dr. Z, where we explore what it takes to live with vitality, balance, and purpose. I am Dr. Z, and each week I will bring you powerful tools, inspiring stories, and expert insights to help you thrive in every area of your life. From health and wellness to mindset and navigating life's challenges, this podcast is your guide to creating a life of true well-being. Be sure to check the show notes and grab your copy of the True Wellness Checklist so you can get started on your journey right away. Now, let's get started.
There is a moment many high-performing women have quietly experienced. It's like you wake up tired, you push through the day on, caffeine and determination, maybe. And by the time late afternoon comes, your brain starts to feel foggy. By the evening, you're exhausted. But then something strange happens. You get into bed finally, and then your brain, it like turns on like a stadium. So your body is exhausted, but your mind is wired. And, someone eventually tells you, hey, your cortisol, it's crashing. But that's not actually what's happening. What if your cortisol isn't crashing at all? What if it's stuck? Mhm. Today, we're going to talk about why so many high achievers, they feel wired and tired all at the same time, and what's actually happening inside your nervous system, and why so many of the conventional solutions actually miss the real problem. So, if you're a high achieving woman, this story probably sounds familiar, right? You've got incredible energy. You could run meetings, you can manage a team, you can run a household, you can exercise, you can think clearly all day long, right? You have that edge. But then something starts to shift and you begin noticing, like, maybe you're having brain fogs in the meeting, like you can't remember things, you're forgetting small little things. Maybe your energy crashes around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed, like the anxiety, the depression. It's like you're swinging from side to side, and you're not sleeping well. Maybe you're having weight gain despite everything that you're doing being right. And the most frustrating part is you're doing all the right things typically, right? Maybe you're eating well, you're exercising, you're taking supplements, you're trying to manage your stress, and yet somehow you're feeling worse. So naturally, what people do is they start searching for answers, right? They start Googling, they start chat GPTing, they're doing whatever to find some sort of solution. They're scrolling Instagram. Don't do those things, you guys. By the way, they're not helpful. But eventually you come across the words and you hear like adrenal fatigue. It's adrenal fatigue. Or they say your cortisol, like I said before, is crashing. But here's where things get really interesting. You see, in most cases, like with the high achieving women that I work with, it's not that their cortisol is actually crashing. It's actually stuck in a pattern that the body cannot exit. Okay. So let's break this down. Let's start with something really important. Okay. So first of all, cortisol is not a villain. It is an important, we need it, right? It's an important body in the hormone. And its job is actually to help you adapt to life. Its job is to help you stay alive. And every single day, your cortisol, it should follow a natural rhythm. So think of like sunrise and sunset. So imagine your nervous system is like that. So in the morning, your cortisol, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to rise so that it actually causes you to wake up. Okay? That's when you're feeling that, that's what's happening. And then in midday, your cortisol should gradually begin to decline as your body stabilizes. And by the time you get to the evening, your cortisol should fall so that your body can actually be in the state of rest and repair. And then it should stay low during the night so that you can sleep, right? So we should have the morning where it comes up, it kind of stabilizes during the day, and then we want it to drop down at night. That's what we call your cortisol curve. But when this rhythm works properly, right? When that's what's happening, like you wake up, you're energized in the morning, you have stable energy throughout the day, you're able to think clearly, you're emotionally resilient versus feeling like a basket case. You're getting plenty of restful sleep. But when that rhythm gets disrupted, then everything starts to feel off. And that disruption, it doesn't usually come from a bad night of sleep. It comes from years of living in a high stress environment. Okay. So it's become the new pattern because we're living in this constant state of stress. Okay. And therein lies the problem. And it happens to so many of us. I mean, so many of the women that I work with in my practice, they're high achievers. They are successful women. Maybe they have their own companies. Maybe there are, C-suite executives, or maybe they're running their own businesses, but maybe they also have family and kids and they're juggling like 15 different balls in the air. And so it can occur for high performance, like they're living in this constant state of like pressure, subtle pressure. And that could be from deadlines, it can be responsibility, it can be from leadership, it can be from having to make decisions that affect other people. And what happens is the nervous system interprets all of that through a very ancient lens, the lens that we were born with. So your biology, it doesn't say, "Oh my gosh, this is just corporate stress," or "Oh my gosh, this is business pressure," or "Oh my gosh, this is just, you've got really high performance expectations of yourself," right? Your body doesn't know that. Okay? It's asking itself, am I safe? Am I safe? And if your nervous system is perceiving this ongoing pressure, it actually begins to then activate your sympathetic nervous system. Okay. So your sympathetic nervous system, that's your fight or flight, right? That's the one that says, oh my gosh, there's a lion chasing me. Quick, you better run. So originally, your sympathetic nervous system, it evolved for like these short bursts of survival. That's what it's really good at, right? Like, quick, grab that extra pump of cortisol there because we need to run from the tiger, right? So, for example, let's kind of walk through. So, you see a threat, okay, like a tiger. Your body should release cortisol and adrenaline. You respond by running from the tiger, and then your body should be able to return to safety. Okay. Now, in modern life, our body rarely gets to that last step of feeling safe. So, what happens is we stay you know, we stay activated without actually having that resolution. So we're always like kind of stuck up here in that high, whether it's emails or notifications going off your phone, or doom scrolling and all the chaos that's going on in the world. Or maybe it's financial pressure or constant stimulation. Like there's always stuff going on coming at us. And so your nervous system never fully powers down. And when that happens, when it doesn't get that break, instead of your cortisol rising and falling, it just kind of it flattens. And this is where people begin feeling wired and tired at the same time, right? At the same exact time. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted, but I just got to keep going, you know? And uh, imagine imagine if you were a car, right? Normally in a car, you press the gas pedal when you need to move, and when you need to stop, you take your foot off the pedal, okay, and you put it on the brake. Now imagine that you're driving with the gas pedal partially pressed all day long, okay, and you're needing to brake. What's going to happen? The engine itself is going to end up overheating, and then what happens when the engine overheats is the fuel efficiency begins to drop, and eventually that system, actually the car, it begins to struggle to function. And this is no different than what's happening in our nervous system. So, when our nervous system stays on that low grade activation for years, your body actually becomes trapped between two different states. Okay. Activation being one, exhaustion being the other. And that's why people say, like, I'm exhausted, but I can't relax. I'm tired, but I can't sleep. My body feels tense, even when nothing is happening. Right? Like, I don't feel like myself anymore. The system never receives the signal that the threat's actually ended. So cortisol never fully resets. And that's where we end up with this issue, right? With this issue where we're wired and tired. So when people start experiencing these symptoms, they understandably, right, they want to start trying solutions. So maybe they're trying adrenal supplements or adaptogens, or maybe they're trying hormone balancing protocols, or maybe they're going for cold plunges, right? Because it's supposed to help you. Or maybe they're trying extreme fasting, or maybe they're like, okay, what can I do to biohack my way out of this tired and wired? And, you know, some of these tools, they can be helpful, but a lot of times they miss the deeper issue, because the core problem, it's not just chemistry. The core problem is actually the communication between the different systems in your body, right? Your brain, your nervous system, your endocrine system, your metabolism, your immune system. In all of those systems, they must communicate so that they can get the energy to stabilize. So if that communication becomes unclear, when there's a breakdown in the communication, you could take every supplement in the world and still feel exhausted, because the nervous system is still signaling, stay alert, stay alert, stay alert. There's danger, right? Stay alert, stay alert, stay alert. And this is where we end up with our energy leaks, right? So it's like when cortisol gets stuck, it creates, I'm going to call it three different leaks. Okay. So the first leak is what I'm going to call the metabolic leak. So your metabolism, when you're stressed out all the time, it becomes inefficient. So you may notice, right, stubborn weight gain, you may notice that your blood sugar swings, you may notice cravings, you may notice that your energy crashes, and the body, really what it does is it begins storing energy rather than using it. Okay. Because it knows that, hey, there's a problem. We've got to make sure that we've got what we need. And this is a survival mechanism. So that's where we see these shifts, especially midlife. And yes, I know there's all these other different hormonal things coming on and happening. But one of the things that happens, right, is when estrogen begins to decline as we enter those menopausal years, our adrenals, like, they need to step into play more. But if they're exhausted, right, because we are draining them this whole time, they're not going to be able to do that. And so now we end up with hot flashes and mood swings and all those things to go along with this. So number one, that is the metabolic leak. Let's talk about the second one, which is the cognitive leak, right? So your brain, it consumes an enormous amount of energy, and when your stress is chronically high, well, you can actually expect your cognitive performance to drop. So your brain, it stops functioning the way that you want it to, right? Maybe you get brain fog, or you start to have difficulty concentrating, or you start second guessing decisions that maybe you used to make before easily, or you get mental fatigue. Like, you're like, no more. The brain is full. I can't handle anything else. And I know, like, for many of our clients at South Bay Wellness, like, they're high performers, and this can be really, really unsettling, because your identity is tied to clarity and competence. So when you don't have that clarity and you don't feel like you're performing, now your whole identity gets messed with. So that's the cognitive leak. So excuse me. So the third one is your nervous system leak. So emotionally, the nervous system becomes fragile. So, small stressors, little things, they can start to feel really overwhelming. So, you may notice that you're more irritable, or you have more emotional volatility, or you get overstimulated by things easily, or you have a hard time just relaxing. And what happens is your system then, as a result of that, it never actually fully gets to reset. Okay. So your body, it has this amazing capacity to heal, but healing doesn't happen through force, right? It happens through the restoration of safety. When your body feels safe, it heals. And so the nervous system, it must learn that it's safe in order for it to be able to exit survival mode. And this is where, what we call the body led approach becomes essential, because instead of forcing the body aggressively, right, using aggressive protocols or things like that, what we need to do is begin to restore the rhythm of the body. So that means your breathing patterns, right? Believe it or not, most of us do not breathe properly during the day. We're like always a little bit like stressed out, like we're not getting the oxygen that we need. I always tell my clients, listen, get the breath work in. Every time you stop at a traffic light or a stop sign, use that as your reminder, right? Habit stack to breathe, right? Take deep, deep breath in and then release longer than you took that breath in. Okay. But managing your breathing and then having normal breathing patterns, like get present to what's happening with your breath, is important. Sleep timing. So waking up and going to bed at the same time every night is really important. Managing your blood sugar, so not, consuming excessive amounts of sugar and seeing your blood sugar kind of go all over the place. Digestive regulation. So that's another thing that certainly takes a hit when our nervous system is out of balance. So if we can get our digestive system functioning better again too. I mean, that gut brain connection is really strong. Okay. Before anybody prescribes an anxiety medication or depression medication, we should be asking them. This is a pet peeve I have, right? Doctors should be asking them, "Hey, how's your digestion?" So that digestive regulation is crucial. Of course, emotional processing, right? Like process things instead of flying off the handle. And really, it's important to recalibrate your nervous system to just get it back into this state of calm, right? We always say in my practice, calm, clear, and cohere, right? So bring everything back into that calm state, clear out anything that doesn't belong, like detoxification, things like that, and then cohere, bring everything back into that coherent communication state. These when your body can get into that state, these signals, they slowly retrain your body to exit that chronic activation. And when that happens, I mean, remarkable things occur, right? Because cortisol, it doesn't need to be forced. It will naturally return back into rhythm. Your energy will naturally stabilize. Your sleep will naturally deepen. Your thinking will become clear again. The body knows and always remembers how to regulate itself. It just needs to be given the right tools to do that. So, if you're someone who is feeling wired and tired, I want you to hear this. Your body's smart. It is not malfunctioning. Your nervous system has simply been operating under prolonged pressure. And the solution is not like you cannot just keep pushing harder. The solution is really about restoring the signals of safety that will allow your biology to then again reset. So, if today's episode resonated with you guys, I do have something I would love to offer you. We've recently created a program designed specifically to help high performing individuals calibrate their nervous system and begin to restore that natural energy rhythm. And it's called the 21-day nervous system calibration. Fancy name, right? But you know exactly what it is. And it is a guided process that helps your body begin shifting out of survival mode and back into that state of regulation. Okay. So it is that. And if you guys, I'm going to put access to it in the show notes for you, but it is our gift to you because the truth is when your nervous system resets, the body becomes capable of extraordinary recovery. And, sometimes the most powerful shift isn't about doing more. It's about finally giving your body the signal that it's been waiting for, right? Safety, regulation, and the space that it needs to restore that energy again. So go ahead and grab that gift for me. The website to go to register for that. And what happens in the 21-day nervous system calibration is we send you text messages usually it's about twice a day. Most days it's twice a day. And they're just little gentle reminders and nudges like, hey, stop and breathe. So we'll catch you in the moment where you can implement those things like immediately in that moment, or you can, save it for later, go back to your text message and implement it later. But there's those reminders that sometimes we need that little, gentle pat on the shoulder to say, hey, go get yourself, do something for yourself. Give yourself that little gift of some time breathing or just focusing, or hey, just recognize if your mind is sort of going into a space of chaos. So go ahead, check it out. It's my gift for you guys listening to today's show. So it's go.southbaywellness.com, calibrate registration. Okay. Calibrate registration. I know it's a little long. It is what it is, but you'll also find a link in the show notes. Until next time, I'll see you for the next episode of True Wellness with Dr. Z.
This is Dr. Z reminding you to tune into your body, connect with what matters, and embrace your journey to true wellness. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who's ready to redefine their health. Be sure to grab a copy of the True Wellness Checklist right in the show notes. Let's keep redefining wellness and empowering change together. See you for the next episode.